Are you over 40 and know that you should be strength training, or know that there's more that you need to learn about it, but you're just not sure where to start? If so, stick with me. My name's Liv. I'm a certified personal trainer, and you can come along on my journey as I also attempt to get used to this new era of strength training while going through perimenopause. There are a lot of things that affect a midlife woman that don't affect someone in their 20s or 30s when they're strength training. So these are things that I myself am trying to get used to and fighting against my old ways, I guess you would say, to look at the new research and put that into effect. So strength training at 40 is different, not because you're broken or your body isn't working right, but I feel like your body has different recovery needs now that it didn't have before. So before, you could do a really hard workout, you could really push it, you could do calorie restriction, and guess what? Your body would respond. You would lose weight. You could lose weight quickly, and that would support you in that what you were doing was working. Well, now your body is a little different, requires more recovery. Sleep and stress matter a lot more to your body. And what I've found is that pushing myself through calorie restriction and harder workouts doesn't work. So it goes against everything that you've kind of thought was true. So taking time for sleep, taking time for recovery are really important. Muscle loss does accelerate as you get older as a woman. So your estradiol that's available in your body does decline. However, the research that Dr. William Lee has done on this is somewhat promising because it doesn't show an extreme amount of muscle is forced to be lost through this change. It just shows that some muscle loss does accelerate as you get older. Basically shows that you need to combat that by staying active. If you turn 40, 45, 50 and just decide all that you're going to do is go for slow walks and sit on the couch, then of course you're going to see that more drastic loss of muscle loss. So also random workouts don't really work anymore as you get older. Bouncing from one thing to the next isn't the best for your body, and your body will often respond by holding on to weight, bloating, things that make you feel like your workouts are not working. So what we need is structure and some smart programming. So step one of this, determine how many times a week you want to work out. So a lot of the research is showing that 3 days a week is sufficient in midlife. I myself am sticking to 5 days a week for my strength training program. That's what I have been doing, and it's part of my daily routine, and it really makes me happy and helps my mental health. So keep in mind with all the research coming out, you also need to do what you enjoy and what works for you. Everything that you might read doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So decide what you're going to do for training, full body or split sessions. I prefer the split sessions, but a lot of research is showing that full body can be more effective. Don't feel like you have to exercise every day. Don't feel like you have to do 5, 6, 7 days a week. More is not better. You want to focus on your consistency more than how hard you go. So be consistent, pick how many days a week you're going to exercise and stick to that. The next step of strength training in midlife, especially if you're new to it, is focusing on the basic movement patterns. So when I say focus on basic movement patterns, these are the basic patterns that you need for all function in life. So if you've been exposed to the strength training world before or other exercise videos, you're going to hear the terms squat, hinge, push, pull, and then carry or core. So basically what you want to do with your strength training program is make sure you're incorporating all of those different items into your routines. It doesn't mean you do all of them in one day. It just means you want to work on those different movement patterns. I think as we get older, those movement patterns become more important because you become more prone to injury. Your balance might not be as good. Your fall risk might be a little higher. Maybe you're not doing as much daily activity as you get a little older. So some of those old patterns of being able to, say, squat down to help your child tie their shoe and then stand back up easily, that some of that can become harder if you don't focus on that. So when we talk about squats, like I said, think of squatting down to tie a shoe, to pick something up off the ground, to get something out of a bottom cupboard. So exercises for this include body weight squats, barbell squats, goblet squats. And then one thing that I'm trying to incorporate a little more are some split squats where I'm focusing more on using one leg because I do have a weakness on one side. So that's an example of the squat movement. The next set of movements are related to what's called the posterior chain. So you might hear a lot of that on videos. This is the hip hinge. So basically hip hinging is activating your posterior chain, which is your glutes and your hamstrings. And a hip hinge is different from a squat. So a squat is lowering your body down and standing back up. A hip hinge is more thinking of a deadlift movement where your hips are going back behind your body line and then you're straightening your hips, glutes, hamstrings up to bring yourself into a straight movement. So things that mimic that hip hinge could be a glute bridge on the floor. So if you think of a glute bridge, your hip is coming down and then you're straightening it back into your line with your body. Romanian deadlifts, regular deadlifts. So these are all important hip hinge patterns that will keep your glutes and hamstrings strong. So then we move to push. Push is pretty much what it sounds like. Pushing things away from your body, right? So push-ups, barbell bench, overhead press where you're pushing. So pushing generally is activating your chest, often your triceps because your arms are extending. And pushing obviously is something you want to incorporate. Same with pulling. So pulling is when you're pulling a weight towards your body, right? So you're thinking of rows, lat pull downs, face pulls. These are all pulls where you're engaging usually your back and often your biceps because you're bending your arms into a row or a pull down. And then the last one, which is really important, which is the one that I tend to not focus on enough, is core. So a lot of the exercises that we've covered will involve your core, which is good and which will strengthen. But you also do want to incorporate some core exercises in your routine each week. Farmer carries are a great one, even though they don't seem that glamorous, where you're carrying a heavy weight in your hands and walking with it. Dead bugs are also good. Bird dogs is an exercise that I do almost every day. And of course, the good old plank. So kind of running through a lot of these exercises I know can be a lot, but just to kind of put in your mind those different movement patterns so that as you are watching videos, you can start identifying, oh, that is a hip hinge. Oh, that is a push exercise. So If you ever want any further guidance, I do have some videos that will walk you through some basic workouts to experiment with some of those movements with me. The last thing, so you decided that you want to strength train. You've listened to what I've said about hip hinging, about picking how many days a week you want to work out, being consistent. So what is left? Well, it's the part of getting started and how many reps do you do? How many times do you do them? So these are all things that you don't have to be perfect, right? You can start something and you can change your mind. If you just want to get started and you just want to take a list of 4 or 5 exercises and just go straight through all of them once, then do it. As you get comfortable with those exercises, then you can start incorporating sets, looking at your reps, looking at how heavy you should be lifting, right? So getting started with this is more important than figuring out all of the answers for how you should be training. My advice to you, if you're just starting out or just getting back into strength training, is even though we all want to be really strong and push it in the gym, start a little lighter than you think. I am a proponent of lifting heavy, very heavy. So I'm not telling you to always lift light weights. But when you're getting started, you're building some confidence, you're building your technique, and you're building your habit. Those are more important than how much weight you're doing to start. So when you get started, don't push your lifting to failure, which means don't lift the weight until you just can't lift it anymore. Okay, so stop when you think you could do 2 or 3 more. All right, stop a little short of that total failure when you're just not even going to be able to lift the weight. Build your confidence, learn technique, watch videos like some of the videos I have. There's some videos on the NASM website where they have a workout exercise library. Also on the ACE site, right? So NASM and ACE are both well-known organizations that certify personal trainers. Look at those videos. Don't just look things up on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, okay? There's a lot of people out there doing exercises that they don't really know how to do. So find a good source, watch other people do it, practice. Also with starting a little bit lighter than you think you could do, you're going to avoid crazy soreness, right? I hope you will be a little sore. That's always a good feeling that you put in a good workout. But at the beginning, you don't want that crushing soreness that makes it so you can't do your next workout. I would say once you pick a plan and a list of exercises that you want to do, stick with them for a month. I always was one of those people that was tempted to switch, add something else. Don't switch your workout routine every week. Stick with those main exercises. It'll give you a nice boost of confidence when you see that in week 4, the exercise is so much easier than it was in week 1. And don't change your calorie intake aggressively. We want to get started with one habit at a time, and adding this exercise routine to your life is not a punishment. So you don't need to take everything away. You don't need to take away all of the food that you like and all of the things you like because you're going to try to work out. You need to just rebuild trust with your body and know that your body can be strong. Your body can be strong in menopause. It's not the end of the road for you. We just need to make some adjustments with our thinking and just be a little more gentle with ourselves and allow our bodies to rest and to recover. I do have a free protein worksheet that has just a simple formula on it. You can download that protein worksheet, figure out how much protein you should be eating a day. That's where I would tell any of my clients to start. Don't look at calories, don't look at macros, don't try to figure out all these different formulas. Get in your protein. That in itself might be all that you need. So get started, download that protein worksheet, figure out how much protein you should be eating a day, and start with that. Start moving, start exercising. If you're still hesitant to start strength training, watch some of my other videos, send me a comment. I would love to help you out. I love strength training. I think that all women should be strength training and feel strong. It gives you a lot of confidence. So if there's any way I can support you in that, I'll support you. I'm going to do another video to focus more on how heavy you should actually be lifting. So we talked a little bit today about leaving 2 to 3 reps in the tank, but let's get into more detail about when I'm looking at that dumbbell rack, which one do I grab? Okay, so let's do that video so you feel a little more confident. And please subscribe to my channel, download my free protein worksheet, and you can always look at my mini courses if you want some more guidance from me as you go through your fitness journey.